Well, Northern Soul is a dance music scene that's been going since the early 70s really, and what it was kids in the north of England started to look back to the years that went before and the soul music that was produced in the Americas in that time. A lot of the stuff that they found never really made it big on the charts. It was all very rare, very small distributions in different cities around the US of A. And basically the records were forgotten about. They never really sold that many in the first instance, and the ones that were sold soon got consigned to dustbins and that. But enough of them were left unsold in record shops that they were just hanging around and they were there for a few cents. These English kids started to go to these, to Chicago, to New York, to Boston and places to find these records, because the music at the time in England had started to get 70s, you know what I mean, it's that pop music, that pop soul, but they wanted to hear this dancey, this 4 beats to the bar dance type music, and the only way they could find them was go to the States, go to these places and pick up these 50-cent records. And what they did was they brought them back to the UK and they started to play them at these discos, and people just went mad for them. They wanted this old soul sound, and basically that's how Northern Soul came about. The whole scene came about. It was about 45s, the record, get the record, the rarer the better, the faster the better, and it was all about dancing. Some of the big centres in England at the time were the Twisted Wheel in Manchester. The Wigan Casino in Wigan was at one point the biggest disco in the world. It had something like 70,000 members. They didn't all go at one time, but they had about 70,000 members. And it's been going pretty much since then. True. It's had some lean times, it's had some boom times, but it's getting to a stage where it's become like a sort of a nice old grandfather of all these subcults. And it's just something that, you know, people who are into it are always into it. You never get out of it. And that's why, like, a lot of us who are in our 40s, we're still into it. We got into it when we were in our teens and our 20s and that, and we're still buying the records, still going out to the clubs and dancing, and that's what it's all about. We used to go to this club called Bubbles down just off Aston Quay. It was at the back of the apartment. If you're of a certain age, you remember the apartment. But at the back was Bubbles. It was a little cellar club, and they used to do a mod night in there. And part of that mod night was a soul set. And I remember the very first night I went, little moddy boy, you know, going in. I was 18 or so, and I went in. I knew all my mod tunes and all that sort of stuff. And then the mod set finished, and then this strange music came on. As I described it once, it was like somebody upstairs dropping planks on the ceiling, like it was like thunder or something. And this track was played called "There's a Ghost in My House." That was like the first one. It just blew my mind. The difference between that mainstream disco and a Northern Soul disco, or what we would tend to call a disco, I hate that word, is what are you going there for? So you go to the mainstream, you go to click, you go to have a few beers, you go to, you know, do all that sort of jazz. Here, the whole idea is to go down, to dance, see your friends, find out what somebody is playing. Anybody get any new records? You get any new records? Oh yeah, I got this one. There you go. I have a look. Whoa, lovely. Remember that one? I want to get that one. You hear a new tune, you write it down. Yeah, I'll go and I'll look for that on the net, or, you know, I'll make a few phone calls, see if I can find one of them. So it's kind of a different reason we're going to these clubs. No, there's probably tonight you'll have probably about 5 or 6 DJs. Okay. They all bring their own records. What happens is the DJs, and it comes from the old mod thing about being one up on everybody else. So, you know, I've got a record, a particular record. Nobody else is going to go out and buy that and play it down at the clubs. We all want to go and find our own tunes. We all want to make our own playlists. Northern Soul is so big. You know, the music is so big. It was going in the States for 20 odd years or whatever. In the States, imagine how many people were producing all those records. So there's always a different record you can find. Some will go for a £5, some will go for 500 quid. And in amongst all the different points between those two scales, you'll find you could pay 17 grand for a record. One of the big records went for 17 grand. I've spent upwards of about 250 in the Delegates of Soul. MP3s have a place, but not at a Northern deal. Certainly not at a Northern deal. And that's... there's a very good reason for that, because it would be very easy for somebody to just get 500 MP3s, stick them on an iPod or whatever, and come in and stick them on and just program a playlist. But it's really, that's not what Northern is about. Northern is about a sort of an obsession or a dedication to finding it on its original media, finding the 45, finding the way the artist produced it on that piece of plastic, that lovely little label in a nice little bag, and you get it sent to you, and you put it on your record player and you put the needle on really, really gently, and the first sounds of the music just come through, and that's what Northern Soul is about. I think a lot of us in there are mods or have been mods, So we've been, for the last 20 odd years of our lives, we've always been thinking about threads and, you know, what goes with what, and, you know, having the shine on your shoes and stuff like that. And I think, you know, you said to yourself, it's about making an effort. You know, it's about coming and looking as good as you can. And also there's still a bit of the old mod one-upmanship in there, you know, or my trousers better than his, or is her dress better than hers and stuff like that. So that is important. In reality, for Northern Soul, it's not important that you're dressed up. It's just that you come down, that you enjoy the music. You come down in a pair of jeans if you want, or whatever. It's the music. That's literally it. It's the be all and end all. It's about hearing a new song that I've not heard before, and just being totally blown away with it. I totally infatuated with this music, with this 60s soul music. I'm totally infatuated with it. At this stage in my life, for somebody to put a record on a record player, put the needle on, and then this music comes out of speakers, never heard it before. It's got the right beat, as I say, 4 beats to the bar, and my foot starts tapping, and I just want to dance. And it's, see you later, guys, I gotta go, and I'm off, and I'm having a dance. And that's really all it is, you know. And that's all you need to take out. You don't need to take anything out. It's not going to change the world. It's not about, you know, politics or whatever. It's just about hearing the song, hearing the beat, having a dance, and enjoying yourself. And at the end of the night, you know, you can go home and say, I heard a new tune, I'm happy, I'll go and look for it and see how much this costs and go and find it. And that's what it's about.